Hi, today we're going to look at a Quantlab server and how to call a Quantlab server using the REST APIs. First, we're going to look at the server itself and how to use that. And then we're going to try to call the server using a Quantlab client and then using a web browser and then finally doing the same thing from Python. And let's get started and look at the server. So here we have a small demo server that's set up, and let's fire this up by running it. So what we have now is a server running on the local computer with three methods, and actually four implemented. We can send the URI QLang, we can ask for funcs, and we can do evaluations using the eval. And we also have a break so we can halt. So let's just see if it's online and see if we can just halt the server. So it's listening and we bring in a web page. We ask for the URL, including the port and the halt URI. And if we call this, we can see that the server got stopped, so it's no longer running. So we have connection. So let's just restart the server. So we're up again and see how this can be used from, first of all, a client running a Quantlab client. So here we've written a Quantlab client, and what do we ask it to do? We will ask it to take a Quantlab QLang code snip and inject this code into the server and ask the server to parse the code. And then we also want to ask the server to call the function that we have passed to the server and see that we get result. So this code will first inject the code into the server using a post request, and we will use JSON format for the body, and then we will check that the server has received and made the compilation of this code correctly. And keeping the same thread open, we will then use the post request and calling the eval function, and then passing a function of our choice to get an evaluation of that function, and then read the result from the body and present that into Quantlab. So let's see if how this works. So then we will switch to the test client where we have our function, and we can go back and see that we have a my option function that takes a number of arguments and then returns the black 76 forward price rounded to 4 decimals. So we can see that we're calling the my option and passing these variables, and we can then see that we get the status message 200 and the message is QLang OK. And then in the second line we have passed the function and the arguments to that function as a JSON body, and then gotten the result from that option. So we can see if we change any settings here, you will see that it comes with a different option. So from this we can see that the server is working. If we want to debug on the server, we can put a breakpoint somewhere in the server code, for instance here in the connection, and then when we call the server, it will be stopped on the server side, and then we have the possibility to see what we're doing in the server and what kind of requests we're getting from the server. or in the server from the client. And we can see in the request we're getting a post message with a header and the host and the body of that server. So we can remove that, and then it will finish running the job. So just to see how this works from some other environment, we have prepared a small HTML form that will do exactly the same. It will call our REST API for the eval function, and then we will pass a JSON function to that eval function and see the results. So let's run this in a web browser. So it will look something like this. And we will write our function and the function name from Quantlab, and then the arguments, and we will pass that. And we can see that we're receiving the answer from the server. And now again, we can check the server, and we can see that we have the connection is still up and running, because the web browser will keep the connection alive for a certain amount of time if we're making more calls to the same session. So we close that, and then we can move on to trying out the next client. So for this purpose, we have created a Python script, and it will do the same thing again. It will call first the QLang with the QLang code and request an answer, and then it will call the eval function with the name of the function that we want to call, with the parameters of that function that we've just created in QLang, and then we'll ask for the result. So then we can run the Python, and we get the status message from sending the code, which is okay, and then we get the status message from the eval function, and that's also okay. And at the end, we're printing the body result of the response of the eval function, which is again the option price of my option that we passed to the Quantlab session. So the only thing we need to know is how to pass a valid QLang code, and we can inject that into the server, and then we can call that using our functions. Or to create a server with lots of ready-made functions that you want to call using a REST API.